Did you know that exposing a narcissist could be your greatest weapon against them? It could be your greatest power against that toxic narcissistic person, to finally get them to leave you alone, to get other people to see them for who they really are, to see them for who they actually are, to pull that damn narcissistic mask off. That's what we're talking about today, y'all. If you're new here, my name is Lee Hammock. I'm a diagnosed narcissist, here to give you the inside look at the mind of a narcissist. And let's hop right into it, y'all. I know that dealing with a narcissist can be scary. It can be traumatic. It can be, it's life altering. Let's keep it hot and ready like a Little Caesars pizza. Dealing with a narcissistic person can absolutely be life altering. It can be like the thought of exposing them can be scary as hell. It can make you shake in your little empathetic boots or your empathetic heels, whatever kind of footwear you got in your empathetic footwear. It can make those things shake, right? But sometimes it's necessary, y'all. I do a lot of one-on-ones over Zoom with survivors and thrivers, right? I talk to so many people. And one of the main things that I hear from people is that they regret not telling people who the narcissist was. They regret defending the narcissistic person. They regret taking up for the narcissist when they feel like they shouldn't have. Those are all absolutely valid regrets that people are going to have, right? But because they regret it because the narcissist has done so much to protect their image, to put the image out there like they are a good person. And when they leave, or when you leave them, or when they leave you, it's hard for people to get on your side because you've been protecting them, because you didn't expose them, because you didn't tell people what you were going through. That's the biggest regret. One of the biggest regrets that I talk to people about, right? And that's why I say sometimes exposing them is necessary, right? Before you expose them, acknowledge that the fear is real, because it is. The fear of exposing them is real because you always want to be safety first, above all else. You want to protect your safety. You want to protect the safety of your children, your family members, your business, your finances, whatever it is, right? Your livelihood, whatever it is. You want to protect yourself. So you want to go into it with a protective mindset, with a protective mentality. You want to go into this type of stuff, like acknowledging that the fear is real, but exposing them might be necessary. You have the power. Let's be real, y'all. Narcissists fear being exposed. They absolutely do. Yes, you are afraid, but so are they. They are also afraid of being exposed, afraid of you showing the world who they really are, afraid of you telling the world who they really are. They are cowards. They know it. That's why they spend so much time trying to trash your reputation. That's why the smear campaign exists, y'all. That's why they smear you so you can't get ahead of who they are. That's why they smear you so you can't tell. So your reputation is damaged. They have plausible deniability. Like, look, I'm the victim here. They can play the victim. Just as much as you're afraid of them, they are afraid of you. I promise you. And this is why sometimes exposure is necessary. And what I mean by exposure, exposing them pretty much means telling your story, telling the truth. You're not lying. I know that narcissistic people will try to convince you that you're smear campaigning them, right? That you are just like, hey, you're lying about me. You're crazy. You making stuff up. You're telling the truth. Just think about it like this. If they hadn't done anything bad, they wouldn't have anything to worry about, right? Right? If they had treated you well, they wouldn't have anything to worry about. There would be nothing to be afraid of if they had treated you okay. You see what I'm saying? This is why exposing them sometimes is necessary to break the hypnosis that sometimes narcissistic people are dealing with, right? Now, I know that there are some valid fears when you're dealing with the narcissist, right? When you think about exposing them or telling your story. There are valid fears about your safety and things like that as well. But there's also a fear of you telling your story and people not believing you, people not listening to you. That's going to happen, y'all. There are some people that are so entranced, that are so involved or so that are so hypnotized by your narcissistic partner or parent or whoever, their ex, that they don't care what happened to you. The new supply might not care about what happened to you, what you went through. So when you expose this person, sometimes you have to temper your expectations. The fear of not being believed is absolutely real. But sometimes when you go for this exposure or go to tell your story, you might have to temper your expectations of people that might or might not be on your side. You see what I'm saying? Because not everybody is going to believe you. Not everybody is going to take your side. Some people will just call you a liar. Some people will say, you know what? They've always treated me well. They've like, maybe you're crazy. What did you do? That's going to happen, y'all. Not everybody is going to be on your side. So when you go to expose this person or tell your story, or whatever the case may be, just understand that not everybody is going to be with you. That's something you got to understand, y'all. And the reason why there are so many narcissists that fear being exposed is because you shatter that perfect illusion. Ooh, y'all. They want to appear to be such people of high cloth, people of the cloth, people with high ilk, right? People that role models. They want to be role models. They want to be people that are looked up to and admired. That's what they want. So when you expose me, you expose them or tell your story or tell the truth, that shatters that illusion. That possibility exists. That's why narcissists fear being exposed so damn much, because you could absolutely shatter the illusion that people have of them. You can break that hypnosis. Not for everybody. Again, go back to the other point I was just talking about. It doesn't work for everybody. There are some narcissists out there, or some people out there that are dealing with a narcissist that do not care what you went through, that do not care what you experienced, that do not care what has happened. They don't care. So you have to, that's one thing you gotta be okay with, y'all. Just understand that you're not crazy. Like, and when you go public, a lot of times, the perfect illusion that this narcissist has, the narcissist has put out there, not only does it break them or break that perfect illusion, but it also means a lot of times you're not coming back, that you're absolutely done. So many people ask me like, Lee, how do I get them to leave me alone? When is the final discard? Sometimes the final discard results in this exposure because they don't think that they can come back. They've been thoroughly embarrassed in public, right? They've been thoroughly embarrassed by people. So they just like, well, I'm not coming back. You know what I'm saying? They go, I'm just done. I'm not coming back ever again. Like, they're done. They don't think you're ever going to come back once you expose them. So sometimes in order to get them to leave you alone for good, you need to expose them, right? And like, let me table this right here. When I say expose, I don't mean necessarily making a TikTok and going viral and getting 100 million views. That's not what I mean. Sometimes exposure can simply mean telling your friends, telling your family, telling their friends, telling their family. Sometimes that's what exposure is. Not everybody's going to be a TikTok or YouTube or Instagram celebrity based on exposing their narcissistic partner. It just doesn't happen that way. You know what I mean? So the fact that it doesn't happen that way just lets you know that just like not everybody's going to be this major exposure. Not everybody's going to be on the front page of the New York Times exposing their narcissistic ex, right? Now, are there some people who end up on the New York Times for exposing a narcissistic ex or for exposing domestic violence or abuse that they've been through? Yeah, there's one woman, she started running a marathon or whatever in her wedding dress to raise money for domestic violence, right? That's on the front page of newspapers. That's on magazines, but not everybody's going to do that. Look, you can run a marathon, but maybe not everybody runs a marathon in their wedding dress to raise money and things like that, y'all. Also, I will say this as well. When and if you plan to go public, when and if you plan to expose this narcissistic person to tell your story, one thing that you need to understand is that it's taking your power back. You get to reclaim the narrative. Narcissistic people spend so much time lying and being just obtuse and being misleading and being fake as hell to so many people that it can be very difficult to deal with this person overall. It can be very difficult to just live your life with any semblance of normalcy because they've lied so much, because they've been manipulating so much. So you get to reclaim the narrative. You get to put your side of the story out there. Because a lot of times narcissists are telling a lie. They're telling their side of the story as the truth, as the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So help me God. Narcissists, they act like they just got sworn in to testify. And they're up there lying their asses off, right? They're up there lying, being manipulative, being a horrible human being. They're doing all of this stuff. So when you tell your story, that's why I say it gives you the power back, because now you control the narrative about you. to some or most people, depending on the situation. Again, some people won't care about you telling your story because just like when victims of grape or SA come out years later and tell their story, some people will automatically dismiss them because why did you wait 5 years to tell your story? Why did you wait so long to tell your story? Why didn't you tell your story when it actually happened? See, that's why I don't believe you. You see what I'm saying? Your story could 100% absolutely be true. You can have irrefutable, verifiable evidence that it actually happened to you. And some people will still not care and make up things. They'll absolutely create falsities and things like that to benefit themselves. This is what they'll do. This is how they go about doing things, right? Some people don't care that you're sharing your story, but taking your power back is not just taking it back from everybody else. It's giving you yourself the power. You're giving yourself the power back. And that's what the goal is. A lot of times you get to reclaim your power, reclaim the narrative around yourself. This is what happens, y'all. Like I said, before you take the step in exposing this person, understand that it's going to require courage. It absolutely is. It's going to require courage. It's going to require that you sometimes break the isolation that you might have been in, because sometimes you get isolated from your friends or family. Sometimes you haven't talked to your friends or family members in a long ass time. You haven't spoken to them. Isolation in toxic relationships is a real thing. So taking your power back, sometimes you get to expose them, you get your life back. You on the other side of this exposure, yes, it's fear. You're gonna be afraid, but the opportunity to get your life back exists. Like they took your life from you, not just physically, right? You get to live and whatnot most times, but you also get your family and friends back who might miss you, who might still be there to be supportive of you, who might understand what you've been through and be there to comfort and love you, because that's necessary, y'all. But again, before you expose this person, understand that there will be some backlash. Understand that once you expose them. Now, so could a narcissist disappear once you expose them? Yeah, they could absolutely disappear and vanish. They could vanish from the face of the earth, right? Afraid with their little narcissistic tail tucked in, right? They could do that, but their tail tucked in between their legs. They could vanish. But some of them will not vanish. Some of them will absolutely fight back and it's kind of like starting a war. Going back and forth. They're lying, you telling the truth. Just understand. You might run into some narcissistic rage. They might make up more salacious rumors. They might actually try to expose you. You know what I mean? Sometimes they might try to expose you with lies and things like that. Or episodes of reactive abuse. If they've ever got you on camera reacting to something that they have done, they'll get you. Bad Barbie. She got exposed, like she exposed her narcissistic partner or whatever, or ex, for being abusive to her. And you know what happened? He put a video online of her on the hood of the car, like the hood of the car, screaming, trying to keep him from leaving. So she exposed him. You see what I'm saying? That's what ended up happening. That's why you have to protect yourself and be prepared for it, because if you're not ready, they're going to embarrass you. If you're not ready, they're going to come back and just lie more and more and more, y'all. So not everybody needs to expose their narcissistic partner. Some people you feel like you might need to. Just think about this type of stuff, y'all. You do get your power back. You could aggravate them and cause some narcissistic rage, and they could just try to make your life a living hell because you exposed them, but only because you told the truth. So prepare for everything that could happen in these situations, y'all. Protect your peace, protect yourself. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, y'all. MentalHealness.net for all things Lee Hammock. Starting my interviews for my podcast here next week. So hit the subscribe button, y'all, and I am out.